Well, we're not even yet 3 weeks into Trump's presidency, but a lot has certainly happened so far. And we're going to take a closer look at Trump's way of operating on the world stage with our international affairs editor, Angela Diffley, who joins me on the set. Angela, Trump's second time around in office. I mean, what have we learned about his methods so far?
Yeah, the first thing to say, has been widely commented on already, is that, this time around, he has surrounded himself with people who agree with his ideas and who are, number one, totally loyal to Donald Trump. So in the first time around, his critics would call them the adults in the room, those men and women who tried to dissuade him from some of his bigger plans. And he also faced a lot of obstruction from US institutions. This is no longer the case. I think we have a graphic. His, obvious way of operating, he does three things that are becoming very, very clear. Flooding the zone is what people are calling this method of operating, whereby there is an avalanche of either executive orders, major declarations, or action. Sometimes it is a lot of noise and there is not much follow-up, and his supporters might criticize him for that. His critics might be glad that there is no little action. But that is something he clearly does. He also, that has the advantage of distracting where there has been a failure or bad news. Some might look at the example today of the transgender sports declaration, the executive order on that. That is going to be very popular with his base. His base were a little unhappy, a little worried about this Gaza plan yesterday. Would it involve American troops? Something he vowed not to send US troops aboard. Would it involve American taxpayers' money? So throwing them some new big news is a classic Trump tactic. The second thing he does, I think if we can bring up the graphic again, so he floods the zone, then he goes in big. Gaza, classic example. We've seen it too with Greenland, with Panama. We're going to take back Panama. We're going to buy Greenland. And, he is, as we all know, a real estate entertainment guy. Exaggeration is how he operates, and then sometimes it is simply a bargaining tool, a first stance in negotiations, and he will drop down. Everyone is getting very used to that. People have been noticing that he's actually quite quick sometimes to settle, to cut some kind of deal, and it doesn't need to be paid, if you like, in the currency of the original argument. Janan Ganesh in the Financial Times has written a very interesting article talking about how he is happy to settle quickly so long as his reputation is saved, so long as he looks good, so long as he can claim a victory. And the way of cutting a deal with him might involve something quite different. Justin Trudeau with his fentanyl czar. That was enough for a pause in those drastic tariffs which he threatened and briefly imposed on Canada. So, three clear ways that we can see. We saw a bit of it last time. It's very clear this time.
Mm-hmm. So as you mentioned with that Canada example, it can be effective. Is it effective across the board?
One of the things about it is it creates uncertainty, and that we have seen can be useful in foreign policy. And it has to be said, the first time around with the Abraham Accords, it was said that would never happen. He would never get signatures on those accords. He does shake things up sometimes, and sometimes it works. So it does create a useful uncertainty occasionally. We saw last time around with North Korea, a lot of noise, very many big statements, and nothing very much came out of it. The other thing to note is that financial markets, investors, economies do not like uncertainty. And Donald Trump is very, very keen. He watches the markets closely. They are, in a sense, the critics he does listen to. So whilst it's good in foreign policy in some ways, or can have good effects in foreign policy, it's bad in terms of economy. Also, US soft power. United States was a country admired by many people around the world. Is that going down the drain? Donald Trump, I think, has concluded he doesn't care. What does the US get for this soft power? He has concluded it is still criticized around the world, even though it gives massive amounts of aid around the world. And I think he's concluded we don't care.
Angela, thank you for that. France 24's Angela Diffley.